What's up, everybody? Jason here from Nerding Around, and I just want to say sorry if my voice sounds a little off. I'm recording this really early in the morning, and I think I might actually have a cold. I'm not too sure. Hopefully, I don't. But also, too, that this past Sunday's episode wasn't exactly a great one. And I kind of have to agree with the internet here because, boy, what an episode. Wasn't all that interesting. Really didn't do too much towards the plot, but we're going to push through it anyway, and we're going to look at some notes and stuff like that I had taken over the course of watching the episode twice. Now, I didn't watch the episode twice because it was that interesting. I watched the episode twice because there were things that I didn't catch that, well, I felt like the writers weren't doing all that great this evening. So, but that usually happens. You're usually going to have an episode in the season that's kind of laxing compared to some of the other episodes in the season. So, taking a look at this episode really quickly, we discover a new settlement, and it's known as Oceanside, and it's also run by lots of women. It's a settlement that's on the coast, and they're pretty much a fishing village. We also take a look at Tara and Heath and what they've been doing since the satellite station incident. We know roughly that it's been 2 weeks, and they have been on the road since then, scavenging, looking for supplies, and everything else like that. Set themselves on a real mission here. On top of that, we also discover that the Saviors have really dicked with a lot of people. The episode itself is primarily about Tara and her journey. So we're going to be taking a look at a few characters that I've chosen that have the highest probability of resurfacing later in the season. And now, mind you, this is just a quick synopsis of each character and what they experienced this episode, or what we really discovered. So the first person that I'm going to talk about, since this episode was primarily about her, and that's Tara. So we take a look at Tara and her quote-unquote abilities as a survivor. Now, granted, she's good in a fight, but is horrible at lying. Throughout the entire episode, she is just a horrible liar. She has too many tales, and she cannot really keep her story straight in the heat of being captured, because she's captured in this episode by the women of Oceanside, and she tries to be all stealthy and very subterfuge-like, but she's just incapable of doing those things. She's still very much a naive person, and still helpless in a lot of ways. And I think that has a lot to do with the communities that she was part of, and the fact that she hasn't really experienced anything yet of the world of The Walking Dead. Now, besides all that, she's also someone who gives herself to a mission. We see that also as she's arguing with Heath earlier in the episode about how Heath wants to go back home because it's been 2 weeks. She doesn't want to go back home because they're going to go back home empty-handed, or with something very little than what they actually set out to search for. So you give her a task, or she gives herself a task, she's going to want to accomplish it by any means necessary and come back home with a big prize. Now, I also feel that she's also a little bit naive as well. Her character is still very naive. And it's nothing against Tara herself or the actress. Actually, it has a lot to do with the character herself. The actress I think she's fine. She's a great actress. But anyways, I feel like she's really naive in the sense that she's not fully adjusted to the setting that she's in. This is the apocalypse, alright? And you cannot be so trusting of people. And the fact that you want the world to go back to the way it was, it's never going to go back that way. At least not until you've had some really, really expensive therapy. That's the only way it's going to go back. But even then, it's still not going to go back. People are just completely untrustworthy now. And the thing is, Tara is very trusting, and she divulges information just right off the bat. I mean, she gives up Alexandria like that. She doesn't even try to hide it. She feels like It's an attempt to bring back society the way it is. She is in no place, in my opinion, she has no place to suggest an alliance or anything like that with Oceanside because A, she's lied and she can't hold on to a lie, and B, she's naive, C, she's just a horrible survivor, in my opinion. Now let's take a look at Heath. We met Heath last season, towards the end, and we noticed that he's a roamer or a scavenger for Alexandria. And so, at the end of the season, they decide to go away for 2 weeks after fighting at the satellite station in search of much needed supplies for the community. Tara decides to go with them, and they come up with nothing. And he wants to go back. Heath has come to realize that the world is darker because of the group. Rick's group, for that matter. There's already tension between Tara and him because Tara belongs to Rick, and he honestly does not care for Rick's group. He liked it when he honestly thought that the people of Alexandria were the only ones. And he's come to realize as well that it's either killed or be killed in this world. And of course, Tara, in her naive way, doesn't quite get that, and she doesn't agree with him. Eventually, the two are separated as they are exploring a bridge, and this bridge has a small community. You see small little makeshift gardens and things of that nature that show that there was probably somewhat of a nice sized population living on the bridge. But what happens is that Tara, in all her glory, decides to explore a dirt mound, and there's this big bag in there. Heath notices that there are shell casings buried in the dirt. As he tries to warn her, she pulls out this bag, and pulling out this bag unleashes this horde of zombies that were buried underneath this dirt. Now, this causes those two to become separated as the horde is a little too much for them to handle. It looks like Tara's going to bite it, but Heath ends up saving her, and she falls off a bridge into the river and then is never seen until later on. Of course, Heath disappears after this, and this gives Tara cause to search for Heath. Alright, so let's take a look at two characters that I'm going to combine for the sake of time, and because they're also related to one another. You have Cindy and Natanya. So let's talk about Cindy first. Cindy is this teenager who lives in Oceanside, who saved Tara, by the way. And she's also not a bad shot. She's actually really good with a rifle. But she believes in helping those who need help, and she also believes that working together makes you stronger. Having experienced an attack on the settlement, she was there when her mother was died. Of course, she was probably really young when it happened. Maybe not. They don't really go into too many details, but we also later discovered that Oceanside was in a fight with another group. They rounded up all the men ages between 10 to probably, I'm going to say, 10 to 60, and killed them all. That's why the entire community of Oceanside is women, is because this other group executed all the men. Now, can you guess which group that was? If you guess the Saviors, ding ding ding, give yourself a pat on the back. That's exactly who it was. They were the ones who killed all the men, and also killed Cindy's mother, Natanya's daughter, and Cindy's brother as well, along with other people in the settlement's loved ones. Natanya, on the other hand, she's the leader of the Oceanside group. She's very wary of strangers for good reason. She lost a grandson and a daughter in a fight against the Saviors, which we find out, and we don't get much out of her other than she's a strong-minded person, and she likes to keep things around the community extremely safe. They have a tight ship. They understand what certain signals mean. They seem to be well practiced in the ways of defense and keeping certain body languages secret. They don't really have too many tales. Because I honestly did believe when Natanya was talking to Tara that she was going to let her go. I honestly felt that, but then when it came towards the end of the episode where Tara has to escape her executioners, I immediately said, "You bitch. How could you do that?" So it's pretty interesting to see that. I think that was probably like one of the moments where I actually smiled throughout the episode because was really caught off guard by what was going to happen. It wasn't until it was about to go down when I realized it was about to go down. For this episode, it mostly surrounded around Terra and the fact that we also meet another community known as Oceanside. We see that the Saviors have dicked around with quite a few people, emotionally scarred them, and just been all around brigands. I know that's a fancy word for saying it. I couldn't think of it. Maybe barbarians. But the idea is that there is no limit to what the Saviors are capable of doing. They have no problem submitting their will on another group regardless of who it is. And they have all kinds of clever punishments. These are biblical punishments. But anyways, I digress. The episode itself surrounded Terra, answered some few questions about two minor characters, and it really just didn't give too much substance to the plot, other than the fact we find out at the end of the episode that Rosita comes to Terra asking for help in getting back at the Saviors. She wants to work with Terra's recent discovery of Dr. Denise's death, the death of Glenn, and the death of Abraham as well. But of course, Terra is not going to be moved in such a way. She informs Rosita that there is nothing out there, they didn't find anything, and that's just how it is, and the episode ends. My final thoughts for this episode come in the form of an opinion and a couple of questions. Now, mind you, I have never read the comics up to this point, and I'm actually continuing to read them as they come out. Now, the first question that I have is that towards the end of the episode, as Terra is escaping her executioners, the one person that helped her and the one person that wanted to go with her to visit Alexandria, Cindy, is carried away and taken back to Oceanside. Now, granted, she is the granddaughter of the leader of the group, but is there going to be a harsh punishment for her? Is something going to happen? And could this play a negative way on her view of outsiders and strangers? Will this change the way that her mom taught her how to treat others? Now, we can only hope that this doesn't happen and Cindy becomes a voice of reason within the group of Oceanside. My second question is, what is Terra going to do now? Now that Terra knows that Denise is dead, Glenn and Abraham is dead, and then not to mention that they have to deal with the Saviors now, that they did not actually kill all of them like they thought they did, what's going to happen now? Is she going to leave? Are we going to find Heath? Because Heath hightailed it at the end of the episode when she went to go back to look for him. She did not find Heath, found his broken glasses, but found out that he had turned tail and took off. Though granted, he did say that he wanted to leave. He did not want to go back to Alexandria. So those are a few questions that I have. And then also on top of that, my last question is that are we going to see the people of Oceanside? Are they going to help Alexandria out? Are they going to find the kingdom? Are they going to do all these wonderful things that I have planned in my head? That are they going to go in that direction? But only time can tell. Now, this episode was really a very hard episode to get through. And I admit that because it wasn't exciting, it wasn't interesting, to say the least. Actually, yeah. My biggest opinion of the fact that it just wasn't very interesting. I honestly forgot about Terra. I honestly forgot about Heath. I totally forgot that they were characters. I guess I was more focused on the drama of it all, and I wasn't concerned with minor characters. Now, I guess this is where, me as a fan or me as a viewer should come into play, and I should honestly respect the writer's decisions in their story making. But I honestly felt like this story could have been told in a different way. How? Maybe I'll put a video on how this story could have been told in a separate way, but up to this point now, I've honestly felt like the writers could have done better. And I think the internet will agree with me, because as I was combing Reddit, they were just tearing this episode apart, and I felt kind of bad for the writers because they really gave it into them. But anyways, the fact is, the episode wasn't all that interesting. It wasn't all that developing into the story, other than the fact that we meet a new settlement and we meet some other characters that we hope to see in the future because they're going to play a bigger role later. Now, could the writers have done a better job in doing that? Possibly, but it is what it is, and that's how the episode goes. Thanks, guys. I know this video was kind of just not all that interesting. I'm trying out a new layout. If you like it, just let me know. hopefully the next episode that comes out is going to be a little bit more interesting. I can actually use this way of doing things. Alright guys, I'll see y'all later in the next video. Peace.